Hey designers, welcome back to another episode of How to Draw Cars. My name is Michael, and today we're going to continue our series called Improve My Car Sketch. Today's drawing was sent in by Josh. He's 14 years old and he lives in London in the United Kingdom. But before we get started, if you're looking to take your work to the next level, be sure to check out the courses on Udemy and the tailored course program at howtodrawcars.net. The links are in the description. So the first thing that I noticed that Josh did right was he sat his car on a flat plane. You don't want to have your car sitting on an arc or a hill or anything like that. You want the ground plane to be flat. If you're drawing a truck, an SUV, something off-road, you can make it rocky, you can make it non-flat. But if you're doing a car like this, a two-door coupe, sit the car on a flat plane. Now, one thing Josh is going to want to take a closer look at is his wheelbase. He's only got 2 wheels between his wheels, which is much too short. I'm going to use about 2 3/4 wheels, but most cars have about 3 wheels between their wheels. So when you're setting up your sketch proportionally, that's the system to use. Have 3 wheels between your front wheel and your rear wheel. Now, if you look at how Josh drew his 4-spoke wheels, he drew the spokes parallel to the ground and perpendicular to the ground. You can get a much more dynamic sketch if you turn the wheel 45 degrees or so. This gives you a much more dynamic sketch, and you want your sketches to be as engaging and dynamic as possible. So as I start to draw my body side, I'm drawing through my drawing. I'm drawing across the surface of the paper from my shoulder. Very important. Now Josh has the high point of his front fender, or he would call a wing, ahead of the center line of the front wheel, which is very rare and uncommon. So I'm going to keep that particular feature as part of my drawing because that is a unique feature of Josh's design. So one of the main themes of Josh's body side is this wonderful tapered fuselage gesture that I definitely want to make sure that I keep as I build upon what Josh has designed. So now Josh has got this trailing edge of the front fender here, very similar to a TVR or a Viper, at least that's my interpretation of it. And then we've got the back end here of the fuselage that's going to come around and join up with this lower line. Hopefully one thing that you're noticing is that when I'm drawing from my shoulder, I draw very large across the page through the form, and now I'm drawing these smaller elements, and I'm drawing from my hand. As a designer, you have to be able to go back and forth between the two. So another thing you want to strive to do is to organize and line up your design elements so they make sense. Here the B-pillar lines up with the trailing edge of the door shape. This would be a really good thing for Josh to work on as he moves forward. So now I'm going to use the edge of my pencil tip point to create a tone that's going to give me the sky reflection, my sky tone in my glass. Just take a little bit of a tissue, wipe it on there, and now I've got a really nice fade from the center line of the car to the horizon line in the side glass reflection. Another thing I wanted to compliment Josh on was the fact that he included some interior elements in his side view drawing. He's got the driver's seat and he's got the steering wheel. And this adds a lot of transparency to the upper part of your sketch, telling the viewer that this is glass. Okay, so as I sketch in the diffuser back here, you'll see on Josh's car that it's dark and it's a separate tone. It's a graphic element. So I'm going to start to fill in what is essentially a big part of Josh's theme, which is this graphic, this dark element that runs along the bottom of the car and then into the rear quarter. But I'm going to extend it a little bit more forward. So again, it connects. I want this to connect across the car. I'm going to bring those elements, that element of graphic design, down into the lower and into the front fascia so it all connects. And this is why it's important to have a soft pencil. A lot of aspiring designers email me, they ask in the comment section about what kind of pencil I'm using. I'm using a pencil with a soft lead so I can get a very, very faint tone. If you look at the tone that I'm drawing on my wheels, my wheel spokes. Look how light those lines are. And now I can come back and add a very dark tone, a number 8 or number 9 tone with this pencil, because the lead is so soft that it allows me this very large range of tones that I can go from very light to very dark very quickly. So as I start to add detail to the wheels, again, using Josh's 4-spoke theme, you can see how much more dynamic having the wheels on an angle is than having them perpendicular to the ground plane. Now that I've got that graphic element delineated, I can start to build a little bit of my form. I've added a fender flare that transitions from the graphic area into the body color area, which is quite unique. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about a ground reflection in the body side. So we've got the front fender or the front wing, and that's going to give us the reflection of the horizon, but there's an offset between the fender and the door. They're not on the same plane. So the door reflection will be a bit higher because that reflection or that plane is stepped back in space. So those two lines will not be on the same plane. Now we've got this little winglet here, and that's on yet a third plane. So that reflection is going to step down slightly. So we've got 3 body side sections that are on 3 separate planes. Therefore, they give us 3 separate heights for that horizon line. So one good thing about using a non-white paper for your drawings is that you can add white to it, which means that you're adding light to the drawing. So what I'm using here is a bit of new pastel chalk to, again, light up some of the surfaces that would naturally pick up light because of the way that they're shaped. So I've grabbed a yellow new pastel, and I'm just adding a color to the ground plane, and then reflecting some of this color back up into the surface of the vehicle. This is a very quick, very easy, and very simple way to add some drama and add a punch of color and a pop of color to your pencil sketches. If you appreciate this kind of car design oriented content, you feel like you're learning something from the video and the other videos on the channel, please leave a like and be sure to subscribe to the channel. So what are some of the takeaways from the video? Be sure your car is sitting on a flat ground plane. Make sure your proportions, your wheelbase, is around 3 wheels between your tires, between your front and rear wheel. When you start to put in and create the shape of your vehicle, always draw across the page from your shoulder. Don't draw from your hands because your line quality will suffer greatly. Use the elements of your design to create a rhythm across the page. And lastly, I'd like to thank Josh for letting us use his sketch. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.